My name is Michael S. Seaver, and you're listening to Equal Chance to be Unequal, my podcast about unlocking human potential through helping people disconnected from their purpose uncover and live their purpose. This is episode 1, 8 Factors for Making Career Decisions. So as I work with executives around the nation, I have to spend a fair amount of time helping them think through very, very tough decisions. Potentially it's looking at taking a promotion or not taking a promotion. Potentially the person's considering starting their own company. Potentially they're looking to change the organization that they work for. Potentially it's a bit more personal decision related to something with their spouse, something with a child. So oftentimes I have to come up with a relatively intuitive but also logical approach to making some of these decisions. And that's why through my trademark process, I came up with these 8 factors that I try to work with all clients through. So I'm going to work through the 8 things that are really critical and that I talk with all of my key executives about to make sure that they're making very, very balanced decisions and very objective decisions through this process. And so first is communication profile. I view this as being the how and what of communication. So I happen to use the DISC assessment I'm very familiar with and can train on some others that are out in the marketplace, but the DISC is the one that I use, helping to look at a person's extroversion or their introversion, looking at their task orientation or their people orientation. The assessment helps to really assess and understand his or her fears. And it really does help me to understand how do I align their thinking and behavioral styles with those that are required for the potential role that they're interested in. And as it works itself out, right, folks who tend to be a bit more extroverted and people-oriented, they're great when it comes to relationship building roles, typically like a salesperson. But folks who are introvert and task-oriented, they tend to be far better at doing things that are a little bit more about implementation, like a finance or accounting or some sort of an operations role. So looking at the how and the what of communication, of course, is a very, very big first step to make sure we have chosen the right role. Number 2 is motivators. This is a little bit more about why you do what you do. So the assessment company that I utilize has a new motivators assessment out called 12 Driving Forces. And each of the 12 driving forces it kind of comes back to the core of 6 major motivators. Number 1 is how does a person attain knowledge? Number 2 is how do they spend their time? It's called utility. Number 3 is surroundings. Do they like something that's a bit more harmonious, or are they looking at things a little bit more objectively? Number 4 is how do they perceive and view others? Maybe this is a little bit more altruistic. Another one, the 5th one, is power. Do they need to be in a power commanding role, or are they okay with being in a more supportive role? And the last one is methodologies. Do they like to be in very entrepreneurial environments, or do they like to be in structured environments? So as an example, if a person happens to be really motivated by money and utility, and if they go to work for a not-for-profit, there might not be the best fit there because maybe the revenue that comes in for their job isn't quite what they would want. Also similarly, if a person happens to be motivated by personal power and control over their own destiny, but they happen to be working in a supportive role, the probability of that person being a bit disengaged is high. So we got to stay focused in on making sure that what motivates them is afforded to them in the job that they're considering. Now the third thing is values, very, very similar to motivators. I look at this as being very, very important lessons that the person has learned throughout time. I look at this as something that the person is willing to devote a fair amount of time to. Examples of values could be the person really desires autonomy. They like to be challenged on a day-to-day basis. Potentially there's something to do with their faith. Do they value honesty or integrity? Maybe they really look at optimism as being something that's important. Respect for others, maybe service of others. I look at this as being the core values that you'll really consider and think about, and potentially the lessons that you'll pass on to subsequent generations right thereafter. So important thing to consider is, does the organization that you're going to consider working for, doing business with, do your personal values align with that organization's core values? And if they do, the probability of it being a good relationship is high. But if they do not, it may not be the best environment for you to engage. The fourth thing I like to look at is intention, what I refer to as a person's personal mission statement. It's why they do what they do. It's why the person exists. And this is typically a one-sentence statement. You know, every organization that you've done business with or engaged with has a mission statement. And I think that you are the CEO of Your Name, Inc. or yourname.com, I think you should have one too that helps to guide all of the really tough decisions that you have to make in life. So how do we make sure that we align your personal mission with the organization's mission? And if it's there, the probability of you being engaged is far higher. If there is not a connection there between your life's mission and the mission of the organization, you're probably going to be a bit disengaged. And so we want to make sure that there is a good fit there, because you're likely to have lower stress levels or be happier or be more engaged with the job if it is there. Now, the fifth thing I think about is what I call an ambition statement. And these are typically, for me, about 3-year, really super wildly important goals. I ask my clients to choose between 3 and 5 of them. And the 3 to 5 goals can be personal and professional accomplishments. Something that the person desires to have, potentially getting married, maybe they want to start a family, perhaps it's finishing a graduate degree, they would like to become an entrepreneur, maybe they desire to make $1 million annually, they want to travel to a specific country. Whatever the goal may be for that person, I'm there to support him or her as long as it is in line with their intention or their life's work. And then my job is to make sure that we're creating the daily habits and rituals that are critical to the achievement of those goals. So I work to help them set up the goals at a high level, but then work backwards to today to say, what are the daily habits and rituals we need to create to make sure that the achievement of those goals happens very organically. The sixth thing that I really use in making tough decisions is what I call a value proposition. And this, for many folks in the marketplace, the kind of common term for this is personal brand. And so I think of this as bringing together a person's unique blend of hard and soft skills, and of course, their life's mission, the intention statement, the values that we've already talked about, and the value proposition, right? All of this comes together to become the person's personal brand. And so to me, this is 3 to 5 sentences in length, really discusses those hard and soft skills that makes the person unique, makes the person stand out in a marketplace. Because at the end of the day, nobody has gone through the same experiences that you have. So let's figure out a way to convert all of these things into an image or a brand or a blend that helps to position you as the subject matter expert that you truly are. The seventh thing that I'm looking at and trying to help a person make tough decisions are kind of the tangible and intangible advantages or disadvantages that come with choosing that specific option or role. Oftentimes we're looking at travel time to and from an office. What does the total rewards or total compensation package look like? Are there important relationships that the person is going to build? Who is the person that you're going to be working for? Is there mentorship potentially going to be offered? Is there a chance to engage professional associations or volunteer opportunities? Does taking this role somehow impact the person's sleep cycle or exercise regimen, or are they going to have less time with their family? Really what I'm looking for here is what is the impact on the person's day, and then of course second or third level is how does it impact his or her emotional well-being. So something to think about, some of those things that are going to happen for you on a day-to-day basis. We certainly want to make sure that we take into account both tangible and intangible advantages or disadvantages. And now the last thing, when we think about these 8 factors for making tough decisions, every human really does appreciate and want to grow on a day-to-day basis. And so because all humans value continual learning, I look at opportunities that are potentially coming a client's way and say, what is it that we expect to gain from this particular role that is going to help propel that person down the road of their life's intention towards their ambition and those goals, and allow them to do it through their personal brand or that value proposition we talked about just a couple minutes ago. And so I look at this in Carol Dweck's book from a number of years ago called The Growth Mindset. I look at it through that and say, does this person have a growth mindset? Do they see themselves as being more powerful than the environment around them and that they can create whatever it is that they want with their life? Or do they have more of a fixed mindset where they look more specifically at saying, hey, I'm less powerful than the environment around me. I just have to take whatever it will deliver to me. And so when we think about opportunities for expected learning and growth, potentially it is mentorship, maybe it's reading books, maybe it's reading blogs, it's listening to podcasts, it's considering advanced university degrees. For some folks, maybe it's a stackable credential. Want to make sure that there's always continual opportunities for the person to grow and to develop. In summary, the 8 factors that we've been discussing: number 1, communication profile; number 2, motivators; 3, values; 4, the intention statement; 5, the person's ambition; 6, the value proposition, the personal brand; 7, what are the tangible and intangible advantages or disadvantages? And then 8, what is the person's opportunity for expected learning and growth? So thank you very much for listening to episode number 1, 8 factors for making career decisions of equal chance to be unequal. I'm Michael S. Siever. I'd be incredibly grateful if you shared, liked, and or commented on this podcast on my website, michaelsiever.com, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. Go forth and be awesome.